Okay, things are definitely getting exciting now if you're at this point. So, as a really quick recap, let's just sort of show where we are. So we threw up the Facebook page just because we needed it. We launched our ad with our lead magnet. Anybody who signs up here gets this really nice looking lead magnet, and then they check their email and they get the email that's very friendly. The email does not ask for anything, it simply gives more. And the more is this toolkit, which is a nice companion. We're extending the relationship every step of the way from the ad all the way to this point. They have gotten this feeling in them that, okay, this is kind of like you want them to be almost sort of confused. Like, why are they getting so much free value from this person or business or whoever it is that they don't know? And that's kind of the feeling that you want. You want them to be overwhelmed with value, that the only thing that they did was gave you their email. So now it's time to actually run the business, which is contacting this person over and over with the right content. But before we get into the content, which will be in the next section, we need to talk about the template. Like, what does a daily or weekly email look like? And on that note, with my model, I'm very focused on display ads and monetizing with page views. So for that reason, I tend to send a daily email, and that can seem overwhelming. But when we get to the next part about content, you might see that with the right strategies and the right templates, you can actually keep up with it pretty easily. I've done it for years and years, in over a decade now. So if I can do it, you can do it. It's definitely possible. So before I get into the content, like I said, let's look at let's look at an example of a template or let's look at an example of an email that I would send to a subscriber on an ongoing way, rather than what's actually in it. We're just going to talk about the format right now. So let's move over here. This is one that I put together in just a few minutes to show you what it might look like. So personalization is very important. That's where, getting their email address and first name is great. I love a subject line that includes the first name. I think it jumps out quite a bit. So this would say, Scott, the advantage is yours. And then I'd open it up. And here is kind of what I like to do. So I like to start with a friendly hello, a few personal anecdotes, something like that. The next thing I like to do, because I'm very display ad driven, which means monetizing on my website, I'll get right into a featured article that takes them to my website, because that's instant money. And after that, I like to throw in something short and sweet that they can use in some way. Maybe it's a tip of the day or a daily something. And in this case, you can see what it is here. But again, right now, I'm not really talking about the content as much as I'm talking about the format. And so you get the idea. And I'm going to show you some other examples from my past newsletters as well. Then I will immediately get into another piece of content to drive more clicks, and a nice big thumbnail, big headline, something that teases it really well. Moving on, I always like to have, I say a story of the day, but it could be a case study, it could be reflections, it could be anything that they can consume directly in the email. I like to have a nice write-up or share something like that. That way that the people that do come and if they don't want to click out an email, they still have a reason to open it every day. Same with this up here. Going down further, another link to the website. That's a third link. These are the only images, big headlines, very clickable if you do it right, and with something that they can consume. I've used everything from a quote of the day, a joke of the day, on this day, like whatever it might be. Get really creative with your niche and think about things that might stand out as pretty simple but meaningful. Maybe it's a little laugh or stimulates the brain in some way, and then just say goodbye. So this is the basic. This is the template that I've used for ever since 2010. Not exact. and I'm going to show you real life examples, real newsletters that were sent to millions of people over the years. I'm going to show you them in 2 seconds, but I just want to say, don't worry so much about these colors or even necessarily the style. I do love this style. It's a little bit of a morning brew style with the boxes with the little mini like subheadings. I like this style a lot, and I think people like it. It kind of compartmentalizes mentally how to read the email, and it doesn't feel as all over the place as if you don't have the boxes. Like, say I jump from the story to like some humor, it kind of makes sense with the boxes. I think it's a psychological thing. So I'm going to start all the way back in 2011 and show you an example of a Godvine email. Now, don't judge me. This was my early days, but if anything, you'll be able to clearly see that this format still works, or still works today, obviously, but worked that long ago, which is a testament to newsletters in itself. So let's come here to this. There we go. Okay, so like I said, I like links out, and then I like things that you can consume directly in the email. Now, first of all, look at this headline. This was 3 years. This was, well, what year is it? This is 2012, but I was using this for a while. Just a little side note that these are pretty clickbaity, and I was doing clickbait under Godvine way back, but I never really saw it as clickbait until Viral Nova came along and all the journalists started calling it that, but I digress. The point is that I would have my friendly intro. It's actually a scripture of the day. And then I'd have my amazing links, which of these would drive ridiculous traffic, like 100,000 visits a day. And then, as always, today's story. And, I don't even know where I would pull this from, to be honest. And I used to have this stuff in, like, to try to diversify, but I wouldn't do that anymore. I don't think it's necessary, but it's not going to hurt anything. And this was with AWeber. I was living in Ohio at the time, as you could see, long time ago. So same basic template, as you can tell. Let's fast forward to this says 2019. Actually, you know what? Let's start with this one. So this says 2022. This is Paul My Gosh. I sold it at the end of 2022. But this is the format we used for years, almost a decade. Happy Saturday, nice opener, some quote about dogs, and then boom, 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 and then we'd have a fan photo of the day. So you're seeing a theme here, right? This obviously works. It's links with also some fun stuff mixed in. And obviously these all go to real articles with good content on them. So rewinding, but actually fast forwarding in the evolution of how I would do newsletters, because there's overlap in those two companies. This one was what I was very proud of. They've changed the format a little bit. They've actually made it even better. They've done an incredible job with this. So Only in Your State. This is the Only in Ohio newsletter. Did you know to start? There's your fun, quick hit at the beginning. Friendly opening, as always. Boom, boom. This is an ad, which we'll talk about later. Boom, and continue. Link, 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 link. Image of the day. Boom. So it's pretty obvious, considering the 3 newsletters I just showed you were at their peak, combined about 1.6 million subscribers and 30 to 40% open rates daily, that this works. People love it. They love this style of linking out to your website whenever it's good content, and also including stuff in the newsletter. So going back to this one, same style. I've obviously, I think I've made it a little bit prettier personally. I think it looks a little neater. And a lot of that's because of ConvertKit. ConvertKit is just a very neat and clean platform, whereas I was using AWeber and GetResponse, and I forget who I even used for the other one, but they weren't as modern because they were built on older technology, but that's not important to this. But so now that you've seen these templates and you kind of see that I have this half and half digest in the newsletter, and then digest on the website. That's the basic strategy and what I would still suggest to this day. So I won't go into too many more details, but I'm sure what you're really thinking right now is, okay, you have all these links to content. How are you creating so much content to link to? And how are you putting this email together from a content standpoint? And I can tell you, it's actually a lot easier than you think. You just really need to have content formulas down. And that's exactly what I'm going to get into after this video.